From the Warhammer Imperium magazine, collected short stories narrated by J.H. Miniatures. At the request of Inquisitor Draxos, the Spearhead. Thought of the day. Numbers, firepower, tactics. These things are useful, but only an indomitable will promises victory. Imperial forces found themselves trapped in the last remaining defensible positions on Araktar's surface. With the Astra Militarum Regiment defending Crater Outpost Drekan pinned down, the Necrons advanced towards the Ultramarines' forward base, an old research outpost hastily repurposed as a makeshift fortress. If the Imperial survivors were to break out, they would first have to disrupt the slow but steady Necron advance. It is the task of the Outrider to strike hard and leave the foe reeling. A rider should never find himself bogged down in battle. He should always be moving, seeking weaknesses to exploit. Speed is our weapon. Let our brothers stand and fight to the last. So long as we leave carnage in our wake and the foe in disarray, our task is complete. Sergeant Darian Vitus, Swift Hunters. Risen from the subterranean tombs hidden beneath the arid planet Araktar's crust, the undying Necron legions close in upon the Imperium's last remaining redoubts. In their path stands only an Ultramarine strike force, their outriders leading the charge. Sergeant Darian Vitus's Raider pattern bike rumbled and vibrated beneath him. He could sense the rage of his vehicle's machine spirit quivering through the handlebars, as eager for the visceral thrill of battle as he. His fellow riders dropped back to flank him, one on either side, chainswords already drawn and ready to strike. Darian had removed his helm. He preferred to experience the raw smell of burning promethium, to hear the percussive sound of exploding bolt rounds, and to feel the wind upon his leathery, battle-scarred flesh. Ahead, the Xenos phalanxes had already met the tip of the Ultramarine spearhead. Inceptors plunged from the heavens and fired upon their foes. The rocket flare of their jump packs lit up the conflict as they retreated once more to strike elsewhere. Their plasma fire reduced Necron warriors to molten wreckage, opening rents in their lines into which squads of assault intercessors plunged, swiftly disappearing into the silver tide of Xenos foes. Vitus guided his bike towards the melee, spotting a weakness his squad could exploit, a narrow gap between two phalanxes of Necron warriors. He depressed the accelerator and wrenched his front wheel to the right, leaning into the turn. Wheels skidded and screeched across the rocky, dusty ground as the bike grudgingly obeyed his command. His two brothers followed suit, thundering towards the Necrons. "Open fire!" Vitus roared to his companions. From the twin-linked bolt rifles mounted in the nose of their bikes, a volley of bolt rifle rounds thundered towards the Necrons, felling several more of the mindless alien soldiers. The trio of Space Marines smashed into the gap, leaning left and right, swinging their chainswords as they passed. Shards of Necron armour flew far and wide, and Vitus felt his bike buckle as stricken Necrons were drawn under its wheels. In a flash of violence and noise, the Space Marines had broken through the Xenos lines, but already the legions were beginning to respond to their noble master's orders. Phalanxes began to turn, directing their weapons towards the Outriders and unleashing fusillades of fire at the passing riders. Gauss fire whistled past them, slamming into arid earth. One or two of the shots struck the chassis of his steed, dissolving ceramite armour. The Raider pattern bike had been designed to absorb such punishment, however. The bike's machine spirit rumbled again, keen to exact vengeance for the damage upon its once pristine shell. Turning his bike in a tight circle, Vitus scanned the battlefield once more. Ahead, a squad of assault intercessors were being slowly driven back by a group of towering Lich Guard, dispersion shields raised to create an impenetrable wall of shimmering energy. "Full throttle, brothers! Squad Decius is in need of assistance!" Vitus bellowed. The Outriders drove forwards, scattering disorganized Necron soldiery aside, peeling wide to outflank the Necron shield wall. Assault intercessors continued to fall, the Lich Guard's blades reaping a gruesome tally on Vitus's outmatched brothers. Vitus wrenched his wheel left, dragging the bike with him by force, and guided it over a series of low dunes, weaving in and out of Necrons and Space Marines engaged in mortal combat. Necron and Space Marine vessels duelled above the battlefield, explosions lit the dawn sky, and a rain of shrapnel and burning wreckage plummeted to Earth. Vitus raked his chainsword across another squad of Necron warriors, skirted around a lumbering squad of aggressors, and angled his bike towards the Lich-Guard. Engaged with the assault intercessors, the Xenos had left their flanks exposed. His bike screamed as he pressed hard on the accelerator, belching gouts of black smoke from its blackened and scorched exhaust. Vitus and his brothers opened fire once more, loosing round after round of bolt rifle fire into the Necron elite. Raising their chainswords once more, they roared the Ultramarines' battle cry as they slammed into the stricken Necron's exposed flank. "Courage and honour!" And there you go. What a quick and dirty story that is. Back with the Necrons and the Ultramarines. My goodness, that was very easy to read. I think one of the things that jumps out at me, just as I sort of brought that story to an end, was it would be quite good, I think, at some point if they did. I suppose it's something I could sort of try really once I finish reading all 30 odd of the stories, is to do a supercut of the at least the battles where the units are related. So it's Ultramarines and Necrons. Kind of merge the battlefields together a bit, but just enough so you can actually go, right, let's imagine if all of these events were on the same battlefield, sort of, the same war raging at the same time. Like, you can't include the stories earlier on where it's Necrons versus Mechanicum, or Mechanicus as an example, because, different faction, it wouldn't make much sense. And we are dealing with different war zones, but why not? Why not? Let's connect the stories that are actually kind of fun and would make sense. Have it as part of a much bigger battlefield rather than smaller ones. But anyway, that was the 14th story, the Spearhead. Next is story 15, which is the Festering Hordes, which marks the halfway point, and it is another double-length story. It is an actual long one. I know, and I pointed this out before. Oh, there's another long one. Story 16, story 17. Because I know we do get, at some point, Fall of Domino, Acquisition, Last Laugh. There we go. Okay, so when we get to story 23, the Crystal Heart. Oh, that is a long one. Hang on. Story 23, the Crystal Heart, is, I kid you not, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pages long, and that's double-sided, so 10 pages of story. That is going to be an interesting read. However, we're getting ahead of ourselves, boys and girls. So, in the meantime, thank you all for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you, and goodbye.